Om Tavakatamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuviknantiye Bhurida Janaha. Thy words of immortality, full of divine glories, is praised by sages. They are auspicious to hear. They destroy the threefold miseries of life and the sins. Those who accept and spread thy words, O Lord, are the greatest benefactors of the world. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We are on page 82. The Master is speaking to his disciple who has been here on the second visit to Sri Ramakrishna. The Master is instructing him. Together with this, you must practice discernment. The word used is discrimination, but now the word is a very loaded word, so we use the word. Lust and greed is impermanent. God is the only eternal substance. This is laying down what exactly is discernment. He has emphasized the discernment between the real and the unreal. God is the eternal substance. He says, what does a person get with money? Food, clothes, and a dwelling place, nothing more. You cannot realize God with its help. Material means are not the means to realize God. I think it's in the Bible. It's saying, Christ says, render what is Caesar's and render unto God what is God's. So something like this. Therefore, money can never be the goal of life. It's obvious. It has been tried and is still being tried. And it will, in the future also will be tried, that people will make money the goal of life. The reality for them is that all these things that make existential life comfortable. But spirituality or religion and comfort are two distinct things. Many times, the search for truth is very, very uncomfortable to one's own, as they say, illusions and everything that we had built up. So, truth, Swami Vivekananda says, it's like a corrosive substance. It burns its way through all resistance. So this is what Sri Ramakrishna is emphasizing to his disciple and also to us. Talk about food, clothes, and a dwelling place. I remember when we were young, there was an old movie called, I don't know if that's a movie, but there was a song called something like The Food, Clothes, and Dwelling Place. The aim of all life is food, clothes, and dwelling place. Is that all? I mean, can't a man see something higher than these things? But these are the things that engage us. It's like that old song was Roti, Kapda or Makan. I still remember those. Jivan ke bas teen nishan. There are just three goals in life. This. So here Sri Ramakrishna has very clearly demarcated what is the goal of life. What is that? The real. And what is real? That which is called truth or God or existence that is beyond all other ideals. All other ideals pale before it. His disciple, M, he agrees. He's saying, yes, sir. And also, I recently read a Sanskrit play called Prabodha Chandrodaya that deals with discrimination, that is discernment. Now, Prabodha is awakening, Chandrodaya is kind of the moonrise of awakening. In one of the Upanishads called the Katha Upanishad, you are presented at every moment, finely blended into each other, that which is the permanent and that which is the temporal. It's called a Shreyas, a Preyas. And we discern the two. Those who are of dull intellect, the Upanishad says, follow the path of the ever-expanding snares of death. The wise ones follow that which is permanent. So both these two things, they present themselves to us. And every moment is an opportunity to discern what is permanent and what is impermanent. So the master also agrees, yes, discrimination, that discernment about objects. The Sanskrit word is viveka. Viveka is to separate. Many people translate it as, yes, that a discernment, that viveka is how to logically establish your arguments, etc. But the real meaning of viveka is to discern. Most knowledge is comparative. All our knowledge is just comparison. This with this and this and this. So you use this very tool called the discernment to separate what really is real and what is not real or impermanent. So Sri Ramakrishna says, consider what is there in money or in a beautiful body, discriminate, and you will find that even the body of a beautiful woman consists of bones, flesh, fat, and other disagreeable things. Why should a man give up God and direct his attention to such things? Why should a man forget God for their sake? These are very strong words. As we proceed, we will find explanations to it. But Sri Ramakrishna is not compromising on truth. Yeah, you can have this and you can have this and you can, oh, be careful. Keep that reality as the goal and proceed. What can distract you then? If you're really sincere. So the disciple asks again, is it possible to see God? This is a question that we all have in our minds. Now, see, he's not saying, does God exist? That for him has been established in his previous visits. And also, he has that particular orientation. Now, is it possible to see God? The idea of God, the conception of God for us, for most of us, is God is very distant, far away. Or God is inscrutable. God is hidden. God cannot be known. Well, what kind of God is this? Oh, it's a post-mortem kind of meeting with God. No, that has never and never will be Vedanta. Vedanta preaches a known God, a God here and now. Because if you put reality, if you say this is real, and say this exists in some other place, that will not do. It's only in that particular place, in that heaven or in some heavens or somewhere on some continent or some in the middle of the Pacific, that this reality called God exists. But then it's not real, because that reality is circumscribed by time and space. It's limited. Can never be the reality. If there is a reality, it has to be here and now. It has to be experienced. Otherwise, what are we doing then? So, we have been in a way searching for reality, but we have been distracted. And that is the work of, as I say, Maya. It distracts us. Because in a heart of hearts, we always look for something that's real, immortal, imperishable. Because that's the nature of your soul. You let a person be saddled, or rather be engaged with hundreds of enjoyment. There comes a time when there's a kind of a rising disgust, a disillusionment that comes in, because that's the nature of unreality. And you will then be oriented towards the real. So here is saying, is it possible to see God? Now this seeing God, many people say, can we see this God with these eyes? God, you're making it objective. Is it something like this, a chair or a table or something like that? God is the eternal subject. It's like when Swami Vivekananda was staying in Pasadena, South Pasadena, with the sisters there. They had a young son there. One of the sisters had, so his name was Ralph. So Swami Vivekananda said, Ralph, can you see your eyes? No, your own eyes. But you can see everything with those eyes. I say, yes. God is something like that. So to a 16-year-old, he gave the highest philosophy. God is the eternal subject. And we want to see it objectified. That will come much later when the mind has been extremely purified, where you can see that same divinity suffusing everything. But for now, you start with this. Can you see God? And where is that direction? Inside. The journey is within. That if God is the eternal subject, it's going to go. Then where is that eternal subject? It's hidden within your own soul. That's where it is. So Sri Ramakrishna assures us, yes, certainly. So the question was, is it possible to see God? He said, yes, certainly. Now this is a statement which again reassures those who are seekers of truth. But for the skeptical, they will bring up all objections, which, Sri Ramakrishna will, within this teaching, he will slowly dispel it. We are skeptical of everything except ourselves. You might as well be skeptical about your own self. And then you'll find that, all your existence is based on illusions. But that's a different story. So here he says, yes, certainly. And he gives us a repeat of the teachings that he had earlier given to his disciple. 1, living in solitude, and now and then. That is, you can't be in solitude all the time. That's because, as we have mentioned in the last time, when you are alone, minus your smartphones and everything, of course, just with yourself, you will see your own mind. And there are people who have lived their life in which their own mind has become the enemy. They can't face their own mind. Their own personality has become oppressive and they want distractions. They can't go and stay in solitude. So it means there has been some degree of, you can say, fortitude and some control where you can see yourself. Not see yourself in the mirror. See yourself in the mirror of the mind. And if you can really face it, then you can live in solitude. Repeating God's name and singing His glories, that's the second. Repeating God's name is what is called japa. And this has been a constant, you can say, refrain in all religions. Every religion encourages this repeating the names of God and singing His name and singing His glories. And all religions are designed like that. These hymns and these prayers have been integral in every religion, not only in organized religions. Every religion, wherever there has been religion, there has been the repeating of God's name and singing His glories. And then third is saying, the discrimination between the real and the unreal. These are the means to employ to see God. So He's given us just three things. Yes. Well, people don't do that and they say, can you see God? Oh, we have tried and it's not there. We haven't seen. You try for a couple of days, it's not going to happen. It's going to take some time till you get grounded in these three practices. Living in solitude now and then. Repeating God's name and glories and singing. So this is a very powerful means, repeating God's name. That is called repeating of a mantra. So it reminds you of God, God's name. When I call out to somebody with the person's name, that person responds. So that's the idea behind repeating God's name. And as I mentioned, the discernment between the real and the unreal. So you are presented with these. The real appears unreal and the unreal appears real. This is the work of Maya. Yes, you see how we get deceived. The unreal, the insubstantial, always will appear so alluring, so beautiful, so bright and so shiny and so promising. And it will give you the sense of, if I get that, it's going to be satisfying. And this is what is necessary to strive for. This is what life for. So always remember, the unreal always appears as real, appears deceptively. And the real, God, that's far away. That's concocted kind of cultural things and has been there with humanity for over the years and years and years. And of course, modern knowledge has dismissed all these. Modern knowledge hasn't yet dismissed all these things. It has dismissed mythology. So, you see, Sri Ramakrishna, when he's speaking these words, he's speaking from these universal experiences. He's not simply stating some theories or something like that. Then M, the disciple asks, under what condition does one see God? This is interesting. You can understand that the disciple is a seeker. Guys, serious. Can you see God? And under what condition? Then, and here Sri Ramakrishna says, cry to the Lord with an intensely yearning heart, and you will certainly see Him. This is the basis of all spiritual practices. You have to intensely yearn for God. And we have seen it in his own life. His yearning itself gave him the first vision of God. When he used to sit down and worship, he used to weep and say, are you real? Are you a figment of my imagination, of people's imagination? All these poets, saints and all, they have said that you are real, but what are you? And day and night, and in the evening when he used to finish his worship, he used to go to that grove, which is called Grove of Five Trees, in a densely forested area in that temple complex. And he used to weep. So he says, people shed a whole jug of tears for wife and children. They swim in tears for money. But who weeps for God? Cry to Him with a real cry. This is what it is. In his own life, as he has said, he uses the word vyakulata. It is that intense yearning of the heart. When you want to see God with that kind of intensity, you will see Him. And this intensity is not for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours. It burns you constantly. There's a kind of an upheaval that takes place in the mind. All your subconscious and your conscious levels of the mind are kind of held in suspension. And there's a huge, you can say, entry of consciousness in this higher reaches. And it is here that you start yearning, things open up to you. And you know that it's something within reach and it's tantalizingly close, and you want to reach out to it and you keep on pushing, yearning and yearning. Sri Ramakrishna also gives the example of a disciple goes to a teacher and says, it's a guru, sir, how does one realize God? And the teacher, guru, he takes him to the river and then pushes his head underwater, holds him by the neck and pushes his head under and holds him there. And the disciple is struggling. He releases him. What did you want right now? A breath of air. I was dying down there. When you want God like this, it will come to you. That means your entirety, your body, your senses, your mind, your intellect, everything that you have learned is now focused in that intense, you can say, spot or direction. It's not just, I want to keep my body comfortable and I want to keep everything comfortable and then I want to pray to God. That won't happen. It will shake you to the very foundations. Yes, it is a kind of an uprooting you. You completely become changed. And this is what happens when you intensely yearn for God, pray to God. Now what happens? Well, you can see God. And this is an assurance that is being given to us. The master, then he said, the master sang, cry to your mother Shama with a real cry, O mind, and how can she hold herself from you? How can Shama stay away? How can your mother Kali hold herself away? O mind, if you are in earnest, bring her an offering of bale leaves and hibiscus flowers. Lay at her feet your offering, and with it mingle the fragrant sandal paste of love. Shama, the Divine Mother, literally it means the dark one. But it's nothing to do with color. Sri Ramakrishna gives an example. When you see things at a distance, they appear different. Like water. He gives the example of water. Water seen at a distance appears blue or dark. But that same water, when it is cupped in your palm, has no color. When you see God from a distance, it appears dark. That's why he's saying, cry to your mother Shama, the Kali. So that means you are still far away from God. You have not seen it. You have not made it your experience. When you see this, it becomes your experience. That is, you become one with it. The same way, when you see God, you become one with it. And then you will see God has no color. There's no dark one. It's colorless. Another illustration he gives is also of the sky. The sky appears blue. Yeah, really? Okay. But there's no color around here. The same sky is around you. Similarly, God appears distant and different to those who are seeing it from afar. Up close, God has got no form. Yeah. Because if you say God has got form, yes, Sri Ramakrishna has said God is with form, God is without form, and God is beyond both form and formlessness. So he continues. Continuing, he said, longing, that is intense yearning of heart, is like the rosy dawn. After the dawn, out comes the sun. Longing is followed by the vision of God. This is very clear. So we know now what are the means and what is the end. It starts from here, ends here, the vision of God. But what happens to our life? What happens to your life? Oh, it becomes the most beautiful thing, beautiful life that you've ever imagined. There you really start living. Does it upend everything that we did? No, nothing happens. It's like thinking, well, for centuries, erroneously, that the earth was the center of the universe, and see how things, my God, ridiculous. Even the ancient Greeks and Indians and Chinese, they knew that the earth wasn't the center, but people said, oh, there's a center. And when it was found by Copernicus and all this, oh, the sun is the center of this, of the solar system. And everything fell into place. Everything. Now it was possible to know the movement of the planets and all the knowledge simply just fell into place and started increasing. So what happened? Not that the earth was ever the center of the solar system, but we used to believe that. The belief had gone off and we got real knowledge. And through that we progressed. This is what actually happens when you see God. What happens? Oh, I've seen that. I have experienced that. So what happens? Now you really start living your real life. in God. So he's saying, again, let me emphasize this. Longing is like the rosy dawn. When you wake up in the morning and you see dawn, you know the sun's going to rise. So here it is. When you feel your longing is increasing, your yearning to see God increases. Blessed is that person. Know that you will soon see God. And then further he defines longing. So how much longing? This much? This much? Yeah, for how long? So here he continues. God reveals himself to a devotee who feels drawn to him by the combined force of these three attractions. The attraction of worldly possessions for the worldly man, a child's attraction for its mother, and the husband's attraction for the chaste wife. If one feels drawn to him by the combined force of these three attractions, then through it one can attain him. He is giving you the exact amount, the exact intensity to realize God. So this, now the first one, as I said, the attraction of worldly possession for the worldly man. That person is not going to sit down. We are not talking about a person who is sitting passive and waiting for money to come. No, that doesn't happen, of course. That person is gone out and working day and night. So why? Because he is working for money. Because he is attached to these things. It's not sitting passively. Maybe I'll get a kind of a lottery. No problem, I can beat. So this is what is the child's attraction for its mother. When the child, it was one with the mother, and then it was separated in a way, and physically, after it was born. But yet, the mother is everything. So that is that attraction, or that you can say the connection. And the husband's attraction for the chaste wife. This is, so what is that? It's kind of a pure, you can say, feeling. So you have these three intensities joined together. Hard work with purity and with the idea of non-separation from child with the mother. You get it. This is what is called longing. And this is how you gauge your own intensity. People say, oh, I have not seen God for the last 40 years. Did you gauge yourself with this? No. I fell short. Of course. Try it. You can get it. So how long will it take? It's not a question of how long. It's a question of intensity. So if I can walk from a mile in, say, 15 minutes, I can run that same mile in 5 minutes. What's wrong with that? So it's the same distance covered intensely by running. So even in the yoga aphorisms is saying, Tivra samvegana masana. Success is speedy for the extremely energetic. That's what happens. So what happens is, like I said, your subconscious mind and your conscious mind is not going to let you get into this kind of yearning, this intense yearning for God. It's when your entire being is focused and, as it were, burns its way through all these conscious and subconscious layers. When your mind, as it were, rises above all things. everything mundane seems insipid. That is a time when you know that this intensity is increasing. We stop here for today. We will continue next Wednesday from this point. That as announcements, Friday, we take the life of Yoginma, another great disciple, household disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. She had an amazing life. Sunday, we'll be talking about the topic of Vedanta and mind. The title has not been yet decided, but I will be speaking about the limits of the mind. Do we have any questions? Question time. Okay. Yeah, there's questions still coming in. Mainly they are all pranams.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Has anybody else experienced the same kind of intensity and realization as Ramakrishna?
Yes. But Sri Ramakrishna's was, the very kind of peak. One time, the question for the audience here, has anyone else experienced that intensity to see God like Ramakrishna? So one time Swami Vivekananda was in a high spiritual state. That was happening, that was in Kashipur, where Sri Ramakrishna was ailing, and the disciples were serving him. So he was oblivious of the world, and he thought like he had taken the attitude of a kind of a Hanuman, and with a staff across his shoulder, walking round and round, striding round and round the house. And all the other disciples, they were kind of, wow, look at him. See that intensity. And they reported to Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna's smile is saying, you're seeing that? That's good. I went through it for 12 long years. So Swami Vivekananda, one day, he was very intense. But Sri Ramakrishna also advises that you do 1/16 of what I've done. That itself is enough. He also said, I've done all these things for you. Later on we will see. He knows that in this life, our bodies are extremely weak. We can't just stand that intense experiences when the mind rises higher. Our body consciousness is very high. So he said, I've done all these things for you. So, but you do 1/16 of it. So if you can do 1/16, there you can have it. They have been in all through we find, like, take for instance, Sri Ramakrishna sweated blood. Blood used to ooze out. This has been also found in history. There were saints who used to sweat blood because of that intensity. Amongst the Christian mystics we have, Chaitanya we had, all these. But once you start the ball rolling, and it really starts rolling, then nothing can stop it. It will grow in intensity. So it's like You go to a gym and nobody is going to ask you to lift 1,000 pounds. You'll do it stages. Start with 20, and there'll come a time when you can. Maybe not 1,000, maybe you can a 200 or 300 for it. So that's you start building your strength. That's the way it is. There is a question: how to differentiate between longing and addiction? Can longing be bad if not understood correctly? Oh yeah, addiction will destroy you. Yeah, obviously. And longing for God it's completely different. So this attachment for objects, it is one way of trying to forget your own self, because your self has become so oppressive, and that's why you need addiction. And not only hard drugs or soft drugs, you go to a movie, you get distracted with the friends and this and that also is some kind of addiction. Try to stay away from the self of yours. So these things have to be, you understand these things, completely different. A spiritual longing is completely different from longing for getting addicted. Okay. Can longing be bad if not? No. Longing for God is not bad at all. It will destroy your karma. It will make your mind pure. You will increase in love and compassion and unselfishness. Is it bad like that? No, I don't think so. It cannot be bad. So, it's there, the signs are always there. So, let it be known that longing and addiction, like you pull back, you might see that you have withdrawal symptoms, like you have something called a cold turkey. I heard that something called, you go cold turkey. And but longing for God tears open the veils that cover your own self. That's a completely different experience. Okay. We can stop here. Oh yeah, sure. Okay.
It seems like a contradiction to long for God, but then also God is within the self. Is another teaching along the
Yeah.
understanding. It doesn't seem like it makes sense to long for
Yeah.
something which theoretically you already are.
Yeah. So when the question was, it's a contradiction. When you say long to see God, longing to see God, but God is there within us, existent. Yeah, but that's not my experience now.
That's fair.
Yeah. So that longing, like I said, it tears away all this, those kind of things that are obscuring this experience of mine. Then I will know, oh. So, it is always said, you go to temples and churches and mosques and search for God and heavens and hells and all over the place, and then finally you come back to your own soul. If you've read that book, The Alchemist, yeah, there's a book. A guy goes in search of treasure, he goes all over the place, he's helped also, and finally he comes back to where he started and it was there all the time. So this longing itself is a kind of a tearing out, it's wearing out all your other karmas. What is obscurating you? So that's why it is always there present. In fact, when the soul begins starting to awaken, you will start feeling that longing. That is the universal experience. Something, as it were, is kind of tugging you, calling you back. And you're saying, maybe tomorrow, maybe day after tomorrow, later, pulling you back. So what are those? Those are the first inklings of that immortality. Something that's drawing you. So that soul itself awakening results in what's called longing. So God is, like I said, within your own soul, is the soul of your soul. That's a better way. So, and Vedanta is very clear. It has to be your experience. It has to be made into your.
One question, as a follow-up to the previous question. So the longingness motivates one to discover what is real, and once one does the longingness disappear into unreality?
Oh, yeah. The longingness disappears. It's like a burnt camphor, you know. I mean, the question was, does the longing disappear into unreality once the real is experienced? Yeah, it's like when you burn camphor, it sublimates. From the solid state, it disappears. Okay, that's what happens. The longing disappears. Once you have, see, suppose you are thirsty and you're, panting and running about for water, and your throat is dry, parched, and your body is kind of dehydrated, your head is reeling, and you're running about, and then you see a mirage, and then you're running towards that, and then what happens? Oh God, there's no water, but I was seeing water. That's what, and then that has made you more frenzied. And slowly, and then you run here and there, and this mirage and that mirage. Finally, somebody comes and taps you. This is the water. And what happens to you? You don't long for water anymore. You've got that water. So it was necessary till you experienced that.
Swami, I'm thinking about the intensity and the relationship between willing oneself to have more intensity and past karma.
Yes, a friend here, Sandy, of course, is saying that talking about the intensity and the past karma. There are certain things that hold you back. So how does the intensity increase, isn't it? In the first instance, he says, go down into solitude now and then. Take the name of the Lord and chant His name, and discern between the real and the unreal. What happens is, in all cases, if you are repeatedly told that this is a good thing for you and this is a good thing, all advertisements, and they constantly blitz you, hit you over and over, you keep on believing it yourself, and then slowly and slowly, when you're walking down the street and you see in the window, somehow your body follows what you saw, and what you had thought. So similarly, as you keep on repeating God's name, what happens is your body and mind get slowly oriented towards this. Then all the obstructing karmas that we have are cut with this very intensity. So let not the karmas, it is valid, of course, that karmas hold you down, but you use another set of karmas to cut this. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of if you're walking around barefoot in a forested area, and in those days you walked, you had no shoes and all around, so a thorn pricks you, and what do? You take another thorn which has fallen down and pull that first thorn out and throw both of them. So use one karma to counter the other. That is how you kind of counter that karma. So the intensity, so you increase your longing for God by increasing your remembrance of God, of taking His name and singing His glories, and slowly, so build up that momentum, and then okay. We stop here for today. We take the gospel up again next Wednesday. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.